saw all of these things take place. And then now we're seeing kind of even further, looking at, conservative attacks really on the First Amendment. And, JD Vance as vice president stated in 2025, our own government encouraged private companies to silence people under Donald Trump's leadership. We may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square. That is so far
cowards
from what is actually happening now. So like, I kind of want to give like a timeline of what has been going on with Jimmy Kimmel and the whole situation. I know everyone has their reservations for it, but you have to understand the dangers that comes with this level of hammering down from the president to the FCC to ABC to then Kimmel. All in the previous individuals that have been let go from their jobs. Me and Muhammad were talking about this. The FCC was never involved in it. It was always the parent company firing of the individual for what the individual had said. So at first, ABC probably didn't even think what Kimmel said was out of line or too far from, having to be removed indefinitely from the show. It wasn't until the FCC stepped in, Trump stepped in for some mergers that, Kimmel ultimately got the boot. But let's start.
And I want to add to what you just said before you keep going further on. They so specifically related to that, they were supported by the Rolling Stone actually, that in the hours leading up to the decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel, two sources familiar with the matter say that senior executives of ABC and its owner Disney and affiliates convened emergency meetings to figure out how to minimize the damage caused by what he said. Take in mind, Kimmel really didn't say anything crazy. He really didn't. If you hear what he said, he wasn't insulting Kirk. He literally tweeted out that Kirk being killed was wrong and this isn't a good step for America. And then basically what he said in his little comment that got him fired was that people on the right are immediately acting like the guy was a leftist shooter and they're like this completely getting rid of the possibility that could have been somebody who had farther right beliefs. But they're saying that in order to figure out how to minimize the damage, multiple executives felt that Kimmel had not actually said anything over the line, the two sources say, but the threat of Trump administration's retaliation loomed over them, so they decided to fire him.
Yeah, so
and that retaliation, that retaliation was the FCC tanking the merger that Nexstar, the parent company of the Jimmy Kimmel Show and who owns them, was trying to merge to create a company that would essentially control 80% of the American broadcasting stations.
Yeah, exactly.
But go ahead.
So you have starting so everyone can get the full picture and really understand the gravity of like what's going on. Like it's been sitting with me so bad because it's such a, and I don't think people understand the level of precedent this freaking sets for the next president across the board. Like, yeah, like it's honestly
the
Republicans are crazy to actually even think of this or even do this. But starting with September 10th, we all know you have the Charlie Kirk assassination, and then you have September 15th. During the Monday night monologue on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Jimmy Kimmel addressed the killing and so forth, and that's when Muhammad was stating that, he made the statement that MAGA was trying to say that it was a leftist, and he was more so saying, it's, we don't know what's going on with anything. But for the MAGA to be stating this and pointing this, that's, pretty, messed up. And the words that he's saying is obviously not in sync with it. I'm saying it, but he did receive a level of backlash. And then you have, September 16th, the level of backlash erupts to unprecedented levels on pro-Trump websites, podcasts, and Fox News as well, labeling Kimmel's remarks as defamatory and anti-conservative hate speech. So Trump reposts these clips multiple times on Truth Social, calling them a horrible thing about a great gentleman. So that basically that anything that Kimmel had said was pushed out across all of Trump's platforms in a way that was curating it to make it seem like what Kimmel said was going against or was anti-conservative hate speech, or however you want to define that now in these days.
Yeah, right. Hate speech is about to get a fine definition.
And then, you have, September 17th, yesterday, FCC Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee, in February 2025, escalates an interview with right-wing podcaster Benny Johnson. He says, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, implying the FCC could revoke licenses of ABC affiliates if Disney fails to act against Kimmel. Carr reiterates on Fox News that broadcasters must uphold public trust obligations. And he warns that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. There are broadcast. Yeah.
And I want to add very quickly that when Biden was president, this guy wasn't the FCC chair, but he had a Twitter profile. He tweeted out that American broadcasting stations should be able to be free to say whatever they want. He literally said that. I'm paraphrasing the guy here, but he basically said that the broadcast stations don't serve the public interest. Quite literally said the public interest. You know what I mean? It's so ironic, so hypocritical. He's like, they don't serve the public interest. They're there for speech. Exactly. It's speech.
Then you have 2017. That's when you have like what Muhammad was saying, the Nexstar Media Group, which operates 32 ABC affiliates and is awaiting the FCC Trump administration approval for a merger with Tegna, valued at $8.7 billion. So Nexstar issues a press release condemning Kimmel's comments as offensive and insensitive, and announces it will preempt the show on its stations, releasing it with local programming to foster respectful dialogue. Sinclair Broadcast Group, which has 28 of ABC's affiliates and pending businesses before the Trump administration, follows suit, demanding Kimmel to issue an apology to the Kirk family and actually go even a step further to donate to Turning Point USA, which is insane. So it's just saying,
using Kirk's death for political.
Yep. And just like as I was saying, Nexstar has 32 of ABC affiliates. Sinclair has 28 of ABC affiliates. 1983, 50% of companies controlled 90% of the United States media market. That number now is roughly down to 5. So that just shows.
And I want to add this. That's due to Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's
the Bill
Trump thing or left.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, when this a part of when this started.
It's just dangerous.
Yeah, they
but not
it is.
It really, like, that's the worst level of monopoly you probably want to have in a democratic country. Is the monopolization of the media, because when there comes a new president in power that's a Democrat and wants to lever this level of hammering, he's going to have kind of the playbook to actually do it and get it done. Moving on, so the evening of the 17th, that's when hours after the affiliate actions, ABC announces the indefinite nationwide suspension of the Jimmy Kimmel live show, stating only that it will be preempted indefinitely. Decision effectively guts the show's distribution, as affiliates cover 70% of the U.S. markets, threatening its $76.6 billion annual ad revenue. So Kimmel has not, commented publicly. I don't even think he felt like his comments suffice for an apology. I don't even think he's going to give an apology. And kudos to him for standing on standing on business, actually, and stating that, as you said, they saw that his comments weren't that defamatory, but from the pressures of Trump, that's what let it happen. That's what led it to the Jimmy Kimmel show being canceled. On a personal note, I don't think the show should have been canceled. But if ABC, if things were different and they did feel that those levels of, language that he used were not fitting and were actually hate speech, then that's on them to want to pull him. It shouldn't be up to the Trump administration to say, yeah, we want to revoke his license for what he said about Charlie Kirk, someone that Muhammad said earlier that he was asked about a day after the shooting, and he's not even remorsing. And he's just talking about his golf, the event that he was going to, and so forth. So,
and I also want to add that after this all happened, I think it was today, actually, it may have been yesterday, Trump was asked about other news affiliate stations and that speak negatively on him. And he quite literally said, they shouldn't be able to do that. We're going to look into, revoking their licenses if needed. So this guy's plain outright saying if they criticize the president, they shouldn't be allowed to be in business, which is
Literally.
extremely un-American. Tie this with the fact that he has a golden statue of himself now in front of the White House on the portion where you can see the White House as a tourist holding a Bitcoin. Yeah, golden statue. Does anyone think about that golden calf of the Bible story? He does actually also have a golden calf, which I will continuously complain about. But it's just so
like, there's not like a straight line towards all the evidence, but it's plausible and it's right in your face. Like, this is a hammering down from the FCC on free speech across the board. And like, conservatives, you guys got to stand up for this. Like, I always say, if you're going to be a champion of a right, a full-on champion, you have to be a champion for all of it. You can't just be a champion for a piece of it. You have to be a champion for all free speech, no matter what it is. It's the freedom to state it. Now, if it's a lie, that's a different story. Like, obviously, shouldn't be spreading out lies and rumors, but you have freedom of speech regardless.
Elon Musk is the most lies every day. You know what I mean? Dude is hailed as a savior of the right by Trump almost. You know what I mean? Like, clearly it's not about lying or about telling the truth. It's just simply about saying what one group likes to hear.
Yeah, like, I think earlier today, President Trump on Air Force One, he said, when you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess you haven't had a conservative one in years or something. When you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. Now, just everyone wrap your heads. Let's take you back to, let's go 2020 when Biden was president. Could you imagine Biden saying these things, going after Fox News for talking bad about him, how elderly he was, sleepy, all that stuff, and started revoking licenses? Conservatives would burn, but conservatives would have burnt the White House down at that point. Like,
oh yeah,
and the fact that I feel like the fact that everyone's not understanding or really grasping how like detrimental this is and this can be for both sides of the aisle is like, I feel like that's worrying to me realistically. Like,
I agree.
I don't know why this is like the one thing I'm like, this is literally like the first show of like stepping on amendments. Like, this is literally like all the things before immigration. We get that that messes with the 14th Amendment. Yes, legalities and all that, but this is like clearly the first. This is the first core step on American, the heart of America, the First Amendment for a reason, and the most important for a reason. And this is blatant, and I feel like no one is really grasping like how bad this can really get, like down the line. Like, I'm at like, I just keep thinking of all the scenarios, and it just scares me, honestly. Like,
yeah, no, the thing is, I mean, in relation to what you were saying about if Biden did this, the Republicans would have gone crazy. The Democrats are extremely arrogant. The Republicans are completely shameless. They know what they're doing. They know they're being hypocrites. They don't care. These people will lie, kick, and scream to do whatever they can to get things on their advantage. And it is, I mean, do you see it with the people who like, Laura Loomer? You see it with people like Nancy Mace. You see it with people all across the aisle among the Republicans. There was a Republican congressman, I'm blanking on his name right now. He quite literally said if Kirk was around during Jesus Christ's time, he would have been very hostile.
I saw that.
And it's just things like that. Like, do you have no shame? You know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna
spew anything at that point? I'm like, what do you like?
Spewing, and that's the thing, they literally spew anything because they have no shame. People claim to be Christians, and then they worship a man like Trump with a golden calf. They go to the wall in Israel and they touch the wall, basically saying like, yeah, we are cucks to the Zionist movement. We are cucks to Israel. We're cucks to Trump, and we're gonna claim we're good Christians all while we cut taxes for the rich, get rid of hospitals in rural areas, XYZ, get rid of free speech amendment by saying that you're not allowed to criticize the president. It's embarrassing, but they don't care because they're like, shameless.
It was a pretty funny tweet, made me laugh throughout the day. It was the United States Congress is doing a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk, and someone had quote tweeted it and said, I can't afford my groceries. And like that's how people are feeling right now. Like they understand the level of importance that Charlie Kirk was to the conservative and Christian movement, and that's no doubt that anyone can dilute across the board. That man spoke his mind, stood on business, and stood his ground on his ideologies that he was willing to advocately speak on any platform, anywhere, against or with anybody. That is the most usage of the First Amendment that you're going to get out of it. But what they're doing is they're trying to restrict it more and more and more and more and more. And like how you said with the TikTok deal, that is going to be basically run by Israel, and they are going to silence anyone anyone or anything that's pro-Palestinian. Like they try to think back not decades, years ago when France was going through the yellow vest protest. If you remember that, when France was like under.
Was that because of the Charlie Hebdo?
I think so. No, that was due to the that was Macron wanting to. I think it was like tax. It was a tax. It was a carbon tax. It was the farmers kind of like coming out against it or whatever, but it was basically France was under fire, but it wasn't being picked up on any other social media platform besides TikTok. TikTok was the only place you're going to see like the rawness of it, and now that's going to be taken away across the board. It's going to be controlled. What you see, the algorithms are going to be controlled by the two individuals who are Jewish and Zionists, and they basically took it from China's control to Jewish control. Realistically, when you look at
I trust the Chinese more than I Israel. Like I know what China's intentions are. They don't want to destroy America.
Yeah, we just want to use my information to make some money off of it, sell it somewhere. But the Zionists, I don't know what they're gonna be doing with that. Worried about that.
I think the Zionist goal for America is to keep the people angry at each other and distracted while the politicians consistently send them money. I think they realize and know that more than ever now, the general public of America is against Israel, and they have to get us against each other. So we stop focusing on how bad Israel is and start focusing on how bad we are. Like the evil left wants to cancel you. The right wants to kill you. The left wants to kill you. The right wants to cancel you. It's just the same old story, but the different side. It's like a play.
Oh yeah, and USA
put in front of us
played on both sides of it realistically.
Like absolutely. And I mean, the thing is, Trump is absolutely enabling it too. I mean, even since he first became president, it was pretty bad, but this term has been worse than even the first, especially with these
visits from Netanyahu and nine months by Trump. What is going on, dude?
Yeah.
What is going on?
And what is going on? And the thing is, according to what Trump has said, reported by what Trump has said, Trump is very buddy with the Muslims in the Middle East, which is funny to me because the right, a lot of the GOP hate Muslims. And looking at Nancy Mace, Laura Loomer, and just a lot of people on the far right. And what I find funny about that is Trump does nothing to curtail Islamophobia in this country because he benefits from it. You know what I mean? He knows a lot of his base doesn't like Muslims, so he's not going to be talking about how Muslims are good people. But at the same time, a lot of his base is starting to go against Jews. But because he is owned by Netanyahu, through the Epstein files, then he is going to do whatever Netanyahu wants him to do, and we're seeing that right now, big time. With what's going on in the movie.
Right. I think it was reported by the Wall Street Journal. Yes, here we go. It's at the last part of the notes, but I kind of want to get into it because Trump reportedly raged at Netanyahu over the Qatar attack, and apparently he is saying that Netanyahu is basically like fucking over Trump. I think the Wall Street Journal reported Trump is quoted saying, he is trying to fuck me over. And he is 1000% is all of his support that he gained up in his 4 years of, going after Biden, being on the opposite side of Biden, a lot of things, hitting Biden on the things that Biden failed on in his 4 years is all being dwindled with only 9 months. You have to understand that. He is at levels that he was at his first presidency at 47 and below. That is god awful. That's horrible. And even all these recent elections that are happening, Democrats are coming in and winning. They're coming in like Georgia's close. I saw that Georgia looks
Jay, man.
pretty close. I will say. Albert Oates.
I mean, North Carolina might get a Democratic senator. That'd be huge.
Like he's seeing the sands shift, and also like on top of him saying Netanyahu is fucking him, you also have to realize Mike Johnson, he's up there with Trump when it comes to being, he might be the second biggest supporter of Israel, because when I like came across on Twitter and I found out that this meeting happened, I was like, what? How far are we going to let them get into our government, basically?
Can you tell our listeners about the meeting? We have
Speaker Mike Johnson met with AIPAC and Jewish leaders in September 2025.
Including rabbis. I just want to say that he met with AIPAC, Jewish leaders, and rabbis. Why are rabbis there?
Maybe they want to, build some more tunnels like they did in New York. But to get back to this meeting, so pledging to block isolationist GOP candidates and discussing Charlie Kirk theories with ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt. So AIPAC spent $100 million plus in 2024 primaries, ousting critics like Bowman, and participants within that meeting included reps Wahlberg and Kustoff. So Johnson had a meeting with AIPAC, which is the largest Israeli, I think it's one of the only Israeli lobbying groups.
There's JSTRI as well.
I would say this one's probably bigger, probably on the same levels, if not bigger than the industrial complex as well as pharmaceutical. It might overshadow both of them combined.
So I want to add this. The pharmaceutical lobby is the largest lobby by a good margin. But this is the kicker. AIPAC is by far the largest lobby for a foreign country. They're like all these lobbies that you'll see spending wise, like they're like businesses in America. They lobby to congressmen so they can get preferential treatment in America because they're American businesses. AIPAC is completely different. They give our congressmen money to do things for Israel, a foreign country. So we don't get any, but at least when the American lobbies are lobbying it, at least you could argue trickle down economics or something like, oh yeah, we're giving tax cuts to these guys, it's going to trickle down. There is no benefit to this American-Israel relationship. There is
no. There's no benefit. They over in Israel, from what I've read about how they live, they basically don't work. There's no working. They give free education, free healthcare. While over here, you have individuals that can't even afford daily groceries in 2025 with, wages starting to get high, and things of that nature. But it's like, we can't even afford daily, items. But over in Israel, everything is free, and it's a free Scott world over there compared to what we have to live through, even though we're giving them and subsidizing basically their whole entire living. It's ridiculous when you really look at how much less America gets back in that trade-off relationship.
Yeah.
Across the board. And, looking at AIPAC even more, that's what JFK wanted to do. He wanted to make AIPAC a terrorist group, which I now know Trump is stating that Antifa is going to be now, looked at as a terrorist group. I also feel like Proud Boys should be included within that. They are also, a group that has had extremist outbursts as well as riots within the years during Trump, actually. But I think it's got to be played on both sides. I hate picking one side, but you obviously know the history where there's been bad on the other side with things.
The thing is,
doesn't add up.
I definitely argue they're both hate groups, but I shouldn't say terrorist organizations. They're not terrorist organizations. They don't have a political goal. Proud Boys just hate non-white people. Antifa just hate people who are not aligned with what they believe. I can see the argument for why boys to be political. You know what I mean? Because everything can be political in nature.
I think they should both be on the same pedestal. Don't put one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You're only one different. No, keep it the same, because that's when you have the level of political violence that exacerbates discourse in media as well as in person. Like, that's when you have all that happens, when you have him saying, oh, Antifa's this, oh, BLM's this, but not stating that, you can see that other conservative groups have walked down those same paths of violence and, political, rhetoric that has stepped out of line and things of that nature. You have to put it on both sides. If you can't put it on both sides, then don't even take the action. Because now you're only going to have the one side react, and it's only going to get worse.
I mean, the thing is, the reason why he's designated Antifa as a terrorist organization now is then so he can say people who are he will designate people who disagree with him as Antifa, and then he will try to lock them up or do whatever he can with them based off national security issues. Like, oh, they're a member of this terrorist organization, they're a national security issue. You know, we're going to charge them with terrorism.
So you saying that's got me on the theory here. You want to hear? So I think what could happen, there could be like another big whole, event that happens, an incident that happens somehow involving Antifa, and with Trump's designation as them as a terrorist group, right? How much do you want to bet that that individual from Antifa that does that incident is going to be labeled as transgender? And then, all right, so you follow me with this now. See, smart, you follow me. So with the terroristic designation now, and now with the individual, if the individual is trans, that is a full-on assault on that whole entire ideology that Democrats had, piled up throughout those 4 years. It's wrong to go about it that way, completely across the board. Completely wrong to go about it.
And I want to add as well, they don't actually care about death. I will keep reiterating that every single episode we have where we talk about the sad topic of death. These politicians do not care about people dying. They don't. The deaths are just a thing to be used to further their political ambitions. There was a school shooting where children were murdered the same day Kirk got killed.
And don't also forget, this has been talked about, but not talked about at all on the news, actually. There was a African-American teenager at a university.
Who got lynched?
Yeah, he got lynched. No talk, no nothing.
No talking.
No one wants to talk about that.
They don't care. They don't care. They can't use that for their benefit.
Exactly, and that's what it is. They want to use deaths for their benefits, and that's where politicians literally lose their soul. If you're going to use someone's death to crusade, your beliefs, your vision, your plan on other individuals, you have no soul. Like, how can you use an individual's death to only make things worse?
I mean, that's the thing. Humanity is extremely evil. I mean, it's the easiest way to say it. We here in the West are very lucky to have the life we live. I mean, it's a very peaceful life. But the moment you get into Eastern Europe, Africa, and beyond, it's a lot darker. And I mean, even right now, the Ukrainian war at the moment, more than 1 million dead in less than a few years. The Bosnian War, the largest genocide on European soil since the Holocaust. Then you've got the Rwanda genocide in Africa. You've got the Sudanese war where the women and children are being starved, raped, and murdered. You've got so much evil that goes on in the world that people on the West aren't exposed to. So they have this gingerly rose-tinted image of how life is, how humans should be. Humans are disgustingly evil. If you have that as your base, everything makes a lot more sense. People aren't inherently good. There's an Islamic belief I fully there's an Islamic belief that I fully agree with. The only time that we are pure good is the moment we're born. After that, we all get tainted by the dark depths of humanity and gradually have to battle with ourselves to be good or be bad. A lot of people, and I would say a minority, but when you're talking about a planet with 7+ billion people, even if 100 million people are giving into that evil, that's still a lot of people. There's a lot of people, a minority of humans, I will say, that are literally giving in to that dark inhibition within them. There's a Native American saying that I like, that a proverb actually. In you there are two wolves, a good and evil wolf. The one that wins is the one that you feed more. And that's a very good way of looking at the human soul. And it applies to a lot of other cultures and religions. Buddhism is the same way. Christianity is the same way. Islam is the same way. That there is a battle within all of us between good and evil, and that we need to have good prevail. And these people in power, they let evil win, because letting evil win is how you get to these positions so much of the time. You need to be a bad person.
Is that proverb about the two wolves? I really like that proverb too, because that's basically what it is. You do have two sides that you have to fight and deal with, and you really want to always have that good side of you. Be there and stand up and win that fight realistically. Like, yes, there's always going to be that little bit of evil, that little bit of dissent in you, but that has to be what doesn't come out in a sense. Like,
Yeah.
realistically, and as you're saying about all these other places, like Trump has even been saying that we may go back into Afghanistan. Like, what are we doing? What are we, the subject he's been spouting out is insane, and what's even more insane is really what's going on with the economy.